It's been a while, but today we're talking about one of my mods. That's right, we're checking out a mod that somehow I never covered, one from not recently, but actually quite some time ago. Today we're looking at the vintage revolver rifle, a pretty interesting rifle from Belgium that ended up being used by the Mexican police around the 1800s. A pretty old rifle, but one that's very, very cool and very unique. We don't really see revolver rifles. Matter of fact, my revolver rifle mod is one of the first revolver rifles for Fallout 4 in general in the modding scene. There were maybe one or two before that, but most of them were shotguns or just regular old revolver pistols. Not too many full-on rifles. The real-life weapon this thing is inspired from, and excuse my pronunciation because I'm going to butcher this, is known as the Pieper M1893, again made by Belgium, but adopted by the Mexican police and even used in the Mexican Revolution. Now, in real life, this thing is actually chambered in 7.65 Mauser, at least the first prototypes were. Eventually, it would actually use its own proprietary round known as the 8mm Pieper carbine, so we didn't really have anything to sort of mirror that, not even in munitions. So we opted to just kind of abandon that whole idea and just make something fun. A long, long time ago, before we'd even decided to do this rifle, we'd always said it would be really funny to have a revolver rifle chambered in 30-06. And so since we ended up making a revolver rifle, why not do so? So this mod actually comes in two different versions. The original version comes out in 308, the standard vanilla caliber, but you can also have a munitions patch if you'd like to use 30-06. Personally, I think 30-06 is a very, very fun option as it makes it a nice high damage late game rifle that has a pretty low mag capacity, something that you could use after the hunting rifle in the base game, and something that has a very unique look. There are a lot of revolver rifle designs out there, but this one was one of the most uniques, and it happened to fit the animation set that we really wanted to use, which makes it a perfect gun in my eyes. I also think that the aesthetic of this weapon fits very well in Fallout, especially those of you who like the Western style of Fallout featured in New Vegas. This is honestly a weapon that I always forget that I made, but every time I play Fallout and find one of these out in the wild, it makes me smile just a little bit because this thing is really fun and really cool. Believe it or not, this is the first ever revolver type weapon I've ever made for Fallout, so it was quite a learning curve, and there definitely are a couple of mistakes here and there. Making a revolver is a lot different compared to making other weapons. It just has a lot more moving parts and some pretty complex round shapes. The cylinder is one thing, but the rest of the frame can be pretty difficult depending on what you're doing, but it was a great learning experience that allowed me to move on to make weapons like the Judge and the Super Red Hawk. And even though it was my first, I do think that this is one of the coolest mods that I have. It's very unique, very different, and something you don't really see around the Nexus. A revolver rifle, like I said, is a pretty rare find, and I'm still one of the few to even have one available. But to be fair, there's not that many revolver rifles in real life anyway, so I guess that makes quite a bit of sense. Funny enough, we do have a revolver rifle in the vanilla game. You do get to change the pipe revolver into a pipe revolver rifle, but those animations just didn't work for what we need, because if you ever put that thing under a microscope, you'll notice that the pipe revolver rifle has some very strange proportions that don't fit with anything in real life. It's a very unique weapon, so we did have to source some new ones. Luckily, there was an animation set for the MTS-255 that fit this weapon almost perfectly. And we have some options now because of that make this weapon a bit more fun to use. A little bit more about the mod and not the background. This weapon is going to be added to the leveled list, so you will be able to find this thing out in the world, which of course you know I love to do. You'll be able to find this thing on Raiders, Trappers, and Minutemen after level 15, which means it is actually going to be available in Far Harbor. There is a unique variant that you can find that has its own custom attachments and custom design and textures. Again, this thing does have custom animations thanks to Austin Dudeman, who made the original set that we used. And there's a bunch of attachments over at the weapons workbench that does allow you to customize this thing to make it fit a little bit more how you'd like, whether it's a very long sniper rifle or something a bit shorter, maybe a little marksman carbine or an infantry rifle. Altogether, a pretty fun retro weapon, definitely one that fits in the sandbox because this thing is made in the 1800s. Now then, let's go ahead and hop in game because we have a lot to cover. Tons of fun custom animations, a bunch of attachments, and a unique to check out that's quite interesting. I think you guys will enjoy this one quite a bit. Now, for starters, let's actually check out the animations because they have me quite excited. They're pretty fun, and then we'll get into all of the stats and the attachments and all the other nitty-gritty details. So, for the animations, there are actually multiple animation sets for this weapon. You can have this thing in single action or double action, which is really fun for the rifle. Now then, we'll start off with the standard set, the base attachments, and the manual action set of animations. This thing is pretty fun. Here you go. Some nice beefy sounds to go along with it. Pretty cool set, and it's pretty accurate as well. As you can see, you can hit pretty much anything here. Some pretty nice, usable iron sights. Not too shabby, I would say. Overall, a pretty nice rifle. But like I said, there's also a set here for double action. And we get to show off the suppressed sounds that come with this weapon as well. Now the double action as well, even though I have this set up sort of as a marksman rifle, if you did set it up a bit different at the attachment bench, you can actually spam this thing pretty quick as a fast-firing rifle if you really needed to shell out some high damage. That being said, you're always only going to have 6 shots. Now, in terms of the stats for this weapon, this thing has a base damage of 50, uses 308 in vanilla, again, though there is an option for 30-06. It has a fire rate of 6 in single action, but again, you can throw on that double action option. Has a range of 179, an accuracy of 70, a weight of 4.7 pounds, and a value of 112 caps. And a good bit of attachments here. As you can see, there's 6 total sections with a good bit of attachments in each section. Overall, a pretty fun rifle. This is the standard variant with the sawn-off stock and the short barrel, but this thing gets to look pretty cool when you throw on some of the different options over at the weapons workbench. But honestly, in my opinion, even in this configuration, it looks like it fits pretty well in Fallout 4 Sandbox. This looks like a lot of the sawed-off shorty weapons that you find out in the world. But like I said, there is also a unique to find, which is known as Impaciencia. This thing has a 25% faster fire rate and a 15% faster reload. Now, if you're not familiar, there is actually a unique in New Vegas known as Paciencia, also known as Patience in Spanish, which is a hunting rifle that rewards you for being slow and methodical. Whereas this weapon is the complete opposite, allows you to go a whole lot faster, reloading faster, shooting faster, and it has a pretty similar design, a similar wood color, as well as a Mexican flag wrapped to the stock here in the form of a bandana that we retextured that I think looks pretty funny, pretty cool. That is actually done by Pig, whereas the rest of the model here is done by myself. And you can see some of the cool attachments that you'll be able to get at the weapons workbench once we get to that point. If you'd like to get your hands on this particular unique, you can find this over in Arturo's house. Now then, let's talk attachments over at the weapons workbench. We've got a bunch going on here. Starting off the receiver section, we have single action receiver, and we have different versions of that with hardened, powerful, and advanced, but also double action receivers, which will nerf the damage a tiny bit in trade-off for that faster fire rate. And then there's also hardened, powerful, and advanced versions of that as well. For the barrels, we have the short barrel, a long barrel, a short comfort barrel, which has a nice leather wrap here, as well as a long version of that. We have the sawn-off stock, the full stock, the gunslinger stock, which adds a nice little bullet holder here, a recoil compensated stock, which was Pig's idea to add some pretty wacky makeshift attachments, and a marksman stock, which adds a cheek rest for you to be able to use this thing better with scopes. We also have an ammo selection where you have the standard cartridges, oiled cartridges, which will have a faster reload speed. Hollow point gives you a bit more damage, but it's worse against armor. Armor piercing will allow you to penetrate armor a bit better. Depleted uranium, which will allow you to have even better damage and a little bit of radiation damage. And superior armor penetration. And then duplex cartridges, which will allow you to split the bullet into 2 bullets every time you shoot, which is a pretty interesting thing. We kind of stole that from Red Dead Redemption 2. For sights, we have the standard iron sights, a set of glow sights. We also have improved iron sights, which will add another little set of sights up here that are a bit more accurate and are also raised up a bit above the barrel. We have a hollow sight, a reflex sight, a short scope, a medium scope, and a long scope. And these 2 scopes here are really fun, because actually the first time I got to use these, I had prototyped them a very long time ago for a lever action that ended up coming out, but I used them here first. And finally, we have the muzzle category with the option for no muzzle, a bayonet, a compensator, a muzzle brake, which shares the same sort of mesh as the compensator, and a suppressor. You'll recognize this one from Far Harbor, but honestly, it fits very well, in my opinion. If you throw this wrap suppressor on with the gunslinger stock and the comfort barrel, you get a look that I think is very fun. It's just kind of wrapped up all over the place. That's a nice bit of texture to a pretty flat gun. Honestly, this is my favorite way to run this thing, but you can choose which attachments you like and have a whole lot of fun with this thing. So yeah, guys, that is the vintage revolver rifle. A very fun weapon. I had a lot of fun making it, and I have a lot of fun using it as well. It's one of my most satisfying guns that I love to run into in my own game. If you like this weapon yourself and you'd like to try it out, it will be linked down in the description below. Check this mod out for yourself, and if you enjoy this mod, consider checking out my modding profile to see other weapons that you might enjoy. Additionally, consider dropping this video a like if you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did. It really helps out the channel and lets me know what kind of videos you guys like to see. Also, if you'd like to support my work directly, whether it's the videos I make here on YouTube or the mods that I make on the Nexus, you can do so using the link in the description to check me out on Patreon. It is, of course, completely optional, not something you should feel like you need to do, but it is there if you'd like to support my work. It is definitely the best way to do so. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!